Hi, welcome to Comic Sans, the show where we talk about the culinary applications of a weaponized cold gun. I'm Trev.
I'm Mark.
And today we're joined by a guest host, a friend of ours named Matt.
Hey, Matt.
So, this is episode 2, and we're going to go over Flash Rebirth. So, you guys have not read much of it.
We've not finished it.
Like,
I read 2 issues so far. I'm really enjoying it.
It's so good. It's super, super good. Flash Rebirth was done in 2009 by Jeff Johns, who did pretty much like all of when DC started getting really, really cool again. That's pretty much all Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is the Jesus of comics. Flash Rebirth, Green Lantern Rebirth, the Sinestro Corps War, leading into Blackest Night, Brightest Day. Like when the New 52 they gave him the Justice League, obviously. Like he's a big name at DC. Super, like authoritative powers. Drawn by Ethan Van Sciver. Not sure how you pronounce it. He also drew Green Lantern Rebirth, the Sinestro Corps stuff, some of the Blackest Night stuff. And he works with Jeff Johns a lot. Like most of the time that you see a Jeff Johns story, it's drawn by
they're usually together on a project
quite a bit. So Flash Rebirth is coming pretty much right off the heels of Final Crisis. So we've got Barry Allen coming back after pretty much being dead since Crisis on Infinite Earths. So
when was that?
Before we were born.
Yeah.
Like right before we were born.
Yeah.
All throughout our childhood, if we ever read The Flash, that was Wally West. When we watch him on like the cartoon Justice League Unlimited, that's Wally West. The funny Flash, that's Wally.
I didn't realize that was Wally.
Yeah, we haven't gotten Barry until Jeff Johns reintroduced us to Barry. And that's why, like, in the New 52, I guess he was so well received that they made him the main Flash instead of, like, Wally's been Flash
instead
forever.
of continuing Wally's story, moving on to one of the Kid Flashes.
Yeah.
Alright.
So the story of Flash Rebirth kicks off inside the forensics laboratory of the Central City Police Department, so where Barry Allen worked. You're getting a monologue and the POV of a character that you are not aware of the identity, sneaking in while these scientists are doing their shit, whatever.
Trying to get out on time. And
this dude just comes in and just stabs the shit out of both of them with
a
lightning rod spear type thing.
Yeah.
Then he chucks a bunch of chemicals on a shelf in a quite familiar fashion. And as the police or security guards are coming in to rush him, he points this lightning rod stick out the window, lightning hits him, boom, the old story.
Yeah, and he's pretty cool looking, looks like a molten...
Yeah, it's drawn really cool, the black skeleton with the red lightning and
like
stuff.
Energy.
Is that a normal transformation into the Flash? Or into a...
I mean, when it was originally done, it was drawn, like, I'm sure it was drawn quite...
less
differently,
cool,
like, because
this is the coolest.
This is probably
this
the
is
coolest
the
that a speedster transformation has ever looked.
Yeah, that looks pretty.
It's pretty crazy looking. But yeah, I think it happens off panel, but he probably quickly dispatches with the police there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the origin of a speedster, because that's what Barry did. That's what Wally did. Bart had, I think he was born with his powers in the future.
Maybe he's born with it.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Then it's pretty much touching base with all of the Flash characters that would be like reacting to Barry Allen's return. People that hadn't seen him.
A lot about him.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
He's the most lovable. Definitely the most lovable member of the Justice League when it comes to, like, he's Spider-Man when it comes to that.
He's Peter Parker and Ben Grimm combined in their lovableness.
That's a really weird thing to think of, because I actually thought about Thing in, like, the Spider-Man costume.
That makes me wonder, though, like, if he had such a strong personality, if he, like we were talking earlier about how, like, Justice was kind of his thing. He was the go-to guy for your code of morality. So how did Wally compare to that when he took over, kind of?
Well, Wally started off as Kid Flash. He was kind of like how there was, like, Robin became Nightwing. In this instance, when Barry died, Kid Flash took up the mantle of the Flash. So he pretty much took all of the lessons that he's just more like carefree. For instance, the Golden Age Flash that hangs out with them all the time now because
the
of
old metal helmet.
yeah, the old guy.
Jay.
Jay Garrick. Wally calls him Jay. Barry calls him Mr. Garrick. That's like the difference between them.
Yeah.
And Wally's more like jovial and I mean, in the end of it, once he's the Flash, aside from the jokes and stuff and the little bit of like naivety, the only real difference between them is one's a redhead and one's a blonde.
Really?
So he fills the same
Kinda.
role.
Well, I guess,
they
yeah,
fill
if
the
you learn...
They just
like,
get
like,
different,
like,
they just get
Dick
different
is-
reverse flashes.
Dick
too.
is still kind of Batman-y sometimes. He probably picked up some mannerisms.
Yeah, but Dick is also
I'll-
very much himself.
But yeah,
too.
like
that's
Wally.
the main reason that he left the role of Robin was
Yeah.
because he was like, I don't want to be like you, and I do things a different way, and I'm starting to realize I don't overly like the way you're doing things.
But with Wally and Barry, it's more like this really is
He's
the way
honored
things
to wear
should.
that costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like the natural progression.
It's more carrying
And
a torch.
the friendships
rather
work
than-
out really well too. Like Barry and Hal, and then you've got Wally and Kyle, like their era,
Yeah.
and the paradigm there, like the two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There? Well,
It's
I
really
didn't know
good.
they were buds.
So yeah. Anyway, the Flash Museum having a huge celebration because of the return of Barry Allen. So it's just touching base with all of the different Flash characters. You've got Jay Garrick and the rest of the Justice Society pretty much just talking up Barry. Jay Garrick talking about how Barry Allen made him the Flash, which chronologically doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's another thing. I want.
Jay fought the Nazis, right? He fought the Nazis, but he didn't like actually make him the Flash. He just Jay Garrick was a scientist of some kind. I think he worked in a college, and he passed out in his lab overnight and inhaled hard water vapors for like a full 8 hours or something. And it should have killed him, but it instead activated his metagene, and he was able to like run at supersonic speeds.
Excellent.
He can go like Mach 1 or Mach 2. Twice the speed of sound.
Right.
That's like what he tops out at.
Which is pretty slow compared to Barry Allen, as it comes to see.
When he's running with Barry, he can run faster.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
And it might be the
Yeah.
Speed Force like touching him a little bit, but he has no connection to the Speed Force.
I like
Okay.
that, though.
He's just a metahuman.
Okay.
Which is why, like, when they're all running, and it's like, okay, we gotta go really, 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 really fast. Jay's
Jay-
like, okay, boys, go for it. But Jay, like, he has his uses, and he imparts the wisdom. He's a stoic.
He's the
All of the
Obi-Wan, but
JSA
not a Force ghost.
But yeah, they're appreciating Barry, Wally, and the fam, the Wests.
Yeah.
Wally's got these two kids, and they are kind of sharing a Speed Force tether.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is phasable, and one of them can control his mass, which works out to super strength.
Okay.
So you've got a super strong little boy and a phasable little girl. And it's annoying, and fuck them. No, they're just who cares,
They
right?
broke the pinata.
It eventually
Yeah,
it
the
gets
garage
fixed later on
pinata.
because it's I hate them, but it matters later because it actually turns into something kind of cool. But then I think it just gets dropped anyway.
As long as it
Um,
matters.
Bart Allen is also having his own welcome home thing that he did himself because he's obnoxious
Yeah.
and.
Oh, it
He
was for
doesn't
himself.
overly seem to care about his grandfather being back because he didn't know it. Like Wally didn't even really raise him. Bart was raised by this Speed Force scientist named Max Mercury. he is your go-to guy if you want to know about the Speed Force. He's researched it. He can touch the Speed Force. He's not nearly as fast as the others are. But his speed manifests in like...
Is he the super the agility guy?
Yeah, the acrobat. Like he can do the backflips and like all of the he's the fighter, but he's also like brilliant and anyway he's like a father figure to Bart Allen. So Bart's like, why did Barry get to come back from the Speed Force and not Max? Because Max is trapped in the Speed Force too, and so is Johnny Quick from the JSA, who's also a speedster. Obviously, the first thing that you want to see when Barry Allen comes back is a little bit of the brave and the bold.
Yeah.
So you've got Hal Jordan and Barry Allen chilling at the Flash Museum. And Barry's really, really kind of torn about whether he should even be back or not. Because he's big on, like, the self-guilt.
And he's
kind
really
of
focused on, like, the how.
Yeah,
and
he
how
doesn't
it's just,
understand
like,
why he got to come back from the dead, or, like, being living energy.
Well, essentially that.
And Hal's telling him not to worry about it. Like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just, like, we're both
just
back
be
from
happy.
the dead because I was dead too. I
Yeah.
came back. Like, come on.
Yeah,
kick
they didn't give
Darkseid's
him a
ass.
parade.
Let's just do... No, they fucking hated me
Yeah.
because I killed so many people as Parallax. These kids find a corpse in, like, a crater-type looking thing.
Yeah.
In a
Iowa.
cornfield. And it's wearing a familiar-looking costume, which is the costume of the Black Flash, or Death the Black Racer, whatever you want to call him. And Death is dead.
Okay, yeah, so how does Death die?
That's a good question. For whatever reason, Death the Black Racer, even though he's one of, like, the main embodiments of Death, has this strange connection to the Speed Force, where that's most of the time where he is.
Right.
Like, he's the death of speedsters. But he's also the death of, like, new gods and the death of other things, too.
Okay.
Maybe it's because the Speed Force is so important to, like, the multiverse itself.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the map, the Speed Force is actually there as a ring around, like, all of the Earths.
Okay.
So I think it has something to do with the fact that the Speed Force has been corrupted, which is making some of the speedsters sick. So Jay had a fucking stroke or something.
Oh, speed seizure.
Yep. Bart is also, like, his vibrations are off or something. So they've got Tim Drake doing tests on him back at the Titan Tower. Jesse Quick, or Liberty Bell. She's a member of the JSA. Her father was Johnny Quick. She's having some messed up stuff because she's got a touch of the Speed Force in her too, because her father knew a Speed Force formula.
Yeah.
Then we get to Flash and Iris, and just... I mean, they haven't seen each other in forever, so we're getting that romance back.
What's she been up to?
She's been kind of a side character for Wally West's family. So you've got Linda Park and Iris West as, like the mother hens kind of thing. Just with the kids, and just all part of Wally's story. As well as Old Man Flash, Jay Garrick, and his wife, Joan Garrick. She's relevant for some reason. Flash goes to do some running, just for, just to blow off some steam. It's what he does. He's the Flash. He runs.
He's pretty good at it, I guess.
And out of nowhere, as he's running, because he's running and he's having these memories of his childhood, but not in the way that he really remembers it. And he keeps getting this image of, like, him running home in a panic and all of this type of thing. And he's starting to kind of, like, touch the Speed Force a little bit as he's running.
Yeah.
And somehow he is used as a gateway for a villain called Sarvatar, who is he's a speedster as well.
Yeah.
Wally West's villain, I believe. He has like a cult of speedsters that follow him,
Yeah.
but he's been trapped in the Speed Force for a little while, and he uses Barry's return to get out. So he ends up, like, he's just all of a sudden running right next to Barry. And he's like, you were the beginning, Barry Allen, and you'll be the end. And he, like, touches Flash, or Flash touches him.
Flash touches him.
Flash touches him, and he immediately just turns to, like, ash and skeletons and gross. Because he's, for whatever reason, touching Barry fucking disintegrated him. And Hal Jordan, who is, for all intents and purposes, a cop, a space cop, but a cop nonetheless, and Barry, they treat it like a crime scene.
Yeah.
So they're investigating it, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with it.
Talk about perps.
Yep, they both like using the word perps, and
Season 3 of...
their friendship is so fucking cool.
Season 3 of True Detectives is just a Hal Jordan, Barry Allen team up.
Oh, I would watch
Yeah.
that. That's the hell out of that.
There's this chick that worked for Sarvitar, and I guess she's leading his speed cult now. Her name is Christina Alexandrova. She's totally forgettable and unimportant. But might as well, mention it. She has this dagger that used to belong to Sarvitar that is touched by the Speed Force, and she does this ritual or something, but she has like a vision of Sarvitar dying, so she's freaking out about it, and I somehow reacts with the dagger. I don't know. Something happens.
Weird
There's
Speed
lightning.
Force
There's lightning, and
cult
everyone in the Speed...
religion.
The entire cult dies.
Yeah.
Lightning strikes all of them, they die, and their speed is given to her. She's now crazy fast. So she attacks the Flashes, Wally and Barry, and she's like, I have the speed of thousands, and I will kill you for what you've done to my Sarvitar. And they're just like, we're still faster. And she gets exploded too, I think.
Yeah, grabs her leg.
Yep, don't touch Barry. And I'm pretty sure right when he touches her is when this red lightning starts to take over him, and he's the new Black Flash. And the Black Flash is the death of speedsters.
Whoa.
The death of other things too, as we mentioned. And we'll get into it at another point when we do Final Crisis.
Yeah. Final Crisis.
It's hungry for speedsters, so he can't really help himself.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you guys kind of stopped.
Yeah.
What happens next is the JSA, the Justice League, everybody pretty much gets together to help out. And Barry's like, I don't know who half these people even are, because he's been away for so long.
Yeah.
But they build a containment unit to keep him safe.
Yeah.
And to keep them safe from him. So he's just in there, and the lightning's bouncing off him and going crazy and making hand constructs and grabbing at speedsters. And all of the speedsters are there it's okay, we've got you, we're gonna take care of you, and we're gonna suck the Speed Force out of you or whatever, so that you'll be normal, but at least you'll live, because this is some kind of crazy thing that's going on with you we don't understand, and whatever. Iris arrives because someone thought it would be a good idea to bring her into harm's way. Bart arrives and is like, where's Max? And it's like, shut up. He's just so... I love Impulse, but he's kind of a dink.
It's a little impulsive,
sometimes.
you might say.
Yeah, yeah. Good one. So the idea is they're gonna try to separate him from the Speed Force, and Barry's having these flashbacks of how he met Iris, and they're kind of the kindling of their romance, and which is one of the most important romantic unions in all of comics. She's his lightning rod. When he needs to go super fast and he needs to be grounded, he's the line is, as long as I remember Iris, everything will be okay. and that's what keeps him tethered. And Wally has Linda Park, his wife.
Uh-huh.
Speedsters have lightning rods to ground them. That's like the idea, I guess. Wily's having one of these, like, touching moments, sentimental journeys, or whatever. This negative, dark energy, lightning, speed force stuff is just going apeshit. And he's like, oh shit, like, it's not gonna hold it anymore. Like, you guys gotta get the hell out of here now. And he ends up, like, breaking out of it, or they, like, open it so he can... I don't remember exactly quite. It's in there somewhere. Should be 3. But Hal ends up making, like a ball or a dome or one of his basic shapes. And he just grabs Barry with it and takes off. And Superman and Wonder Woman go too. Just, you know, because there's lightning coming down, like zapping at Barry. Like every bolt of lightning is aiming at Barry. And Wonder Woman's deflecting it and Superman's just taking it in the chest. And once they get a relatively good distance away, Barry's like, Hal, is anyone following us? And Hal's like, no. My ring says no, or whatever. And Barry's like, good, let me out. And Hal's like, no, well, I'm not going to do that. So Barry just vibrates through it and just starts booking it. So what he plans to do is run back into the Speed Force. So kill himself again, essentially. But he doesn't want to...
here we go.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest parts of the entire series, to me. He tells Hal what he's going to do. He's like, I can't say goodbye to them, and I hope you'll understand, so I'm out of here. And he just takes off super, super fast. None of them can keep up with him. But Superman is fucking keeping up with him. And he's just like, I'm not going to fucking let you do this. Like, we're friends, we just got you back. Like, we've lost so many people. This is a blessing. You can't seem to see that for some reason. I'm not going to let you do this. And as they're running, Barry's burning off this black and red, like, corruption on him. And he's turning red and gold again. And Barry's just explaining, I shouldn't be here. Something's, like, wrong, and I'm going to hurt a lot of people. So I'm like, I'm going. You can't stop me. And Superman's like, Barry, we've raced before. A lot. And I've even won some of those races. And very, very, like, nonchalantly, Barry simply says, those were for charity, Clark. And just, sonic boom, gone, leaves Superman in the dust.
Sucks to be Superman.
So he re-enters the Speed Force, or he's beginning to. He's on his way, and he's trying to remember Iris as he does it, so that he's not, like, lost forever. He's just, you know, trying to do it right this time. So he's having, like, memory flashes of, like, the trial that he had when he killed Professor Zoom.
All the bow tie stuff.
Yep, the cute bow tie romance angles. Wally getting his powers as Kid Flash. Just him being with his friends, like Jay, like Hal, the elongated man. They're really tight. They're like from the same city and stuff, so they've crossed paths a lot.
Right.
And he's just trying to remember Iris, trying to keep her in his memory. So upon re-entry into the Speed Force, Barry notices that Max Mercury and Johnny Quick happen to be in it. And the Speed Force is like this dimension. It's a place, but it's also like a state of consciousness.
Right.
But it's also like just energy itself. But Barry gets in there, and there's Max Mercury and Johnny Quick. Neither of them seem to have, aged much. And in all of this running around in speedy confusion, Barry ends up touching Johnny Quick's arm or ankle or something, and it just starts burning him up, just like the other speedsters.
Right.
So he's suffering the same horrible fate, and sucks for Johnny Quick. Nice guy. Shame to see him go. And then we get the big reveal that it's not actually Barry that's doing it. It's the return of the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, Professor Zoo. So we've got a couple dead speedsters and a whole bunch of weird convoluted memory type stuff going on with Barry.
Jeez.
And all of it has been orchestrated by his main nemesis, who is also back from the dead, I guess.
God, why is this shit gotta be so complicated?
It's just a different version of him. Because, I mean, he's a time traveler. There's always different versions of him. I think at one point there was two of them, like, running around at the same time.
Hey, it's my dog.
So, he explains the red lightning contamination to them in the following issue. And it's pretty much like he created a reverse Speed Force by recreating the accident that created Barry in this timeline, like in this period of time, and it sparked a negative Speed Force, and then he just ran like crazy until it generated enough of his own Speed Force to corrupt the regular Speed Force, and it's really fucking complicated. But Jeff Johns tries really, really hard to make you love it.
Right.
Because he loves it, and that like shows in most things that he does. Eobard Thawne is a dick. Do you know anything about the Reverse Flash, like his origin?
No, I know he's a sociopath.
Yep, there's that.
That's about it.
So pretty much in the far, far future, I don't know what year it is, but it's really far in the future. The Flash is obviously like a living legend. And there's this scientist who specifically studies the Speed Force, named Eobard Thawne. And he's obsessed with the Flash. So much so that, like, he gets surgery to become, like, the physical duplicate of the Flash.
Okay.
And he learns everything that he can about the Speed Force. He buys or steals the original cosmic treadmill. He tries to recreate the accidents. I'm not sure how he initially gets his powers, if recreating the accident worked, or if... Actually, I think he receives a time capsule that has the Flash's costume in it.
Yeah.
And it has Speed Force energy, which he then experiments on and uses to generate more, and either way, he becomes the Flash of his time. And he's going around, he's kind of causing accidents,
Yeah.
and then saving people.
To look
he's
like a hero.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna go back in time and hang out with Barry Allen, my hero. So he does. He goes back in time. Barry Allen's, like, not fucking there, because he had already died.
I guess you can go back far enough then.
Yeah, pretty much. So he tries to hang out with Wally, and Wally's, like, not into it at all. So eventually he gets, like, he gets really mopey, and he goes to the Flash Museum, and he ends up finding a statue of the Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, and it's himself. And he sees this, and it fucking drives him crazy. Like, I'm meant to be the greatest nemesis of the Flash, whom I love. And I feel like he met Barry at one point. Like, he came back, and, like, Barry made him feel bad. like about something, and it's just he was scorned, so he was like, "Fuck you, then I'm gonna be evil." But it was pretty much like he had the regular Speed Force all this time. This is the first time we've seen like a negative Speed Force, like a red lightning. So yeah, this is him back from the dead because one time he tried to go and kill Barry's wife, and Barry gave him a supersonic clothesline and broke his neck. So it's like a different timeline, Professor Zoom. So Wally re-enters the Speed Force to try to get Barry back, and Wally's entered the Speed Force and come back lots of times because around this time, Wally is actually more powerful than Barry. He can go faster. He has a better control on the Speed Force.
Right.
Because better writing took place during the era where he was the Flash. You've got the Wests, and they're having a hard time. They're all like, the kids are sick from these speed incursions that are going on with them. And Eobard,
he shows up.
Yeah, Thawne actually, because he's crazy fast. He's way faster than any other speedster. He immediately goes to the West's house and he's like, I'm going to fucking kill all of you, because all of your guys are in the Speed Force. So I'm going to kill these kids, and I'm going to kill you ladies and all that. Because that's what evil people do. There's actually one point during it, it's a monologue of Barry's, and he's like, Bruce and I, Batman, and I used to try to one-up each other with our villains.
Yeah.
I would say Captain Cold, and he would say Two-Face. I would say Gorilla Grodd. He would say Killer Croc. He would say Joker. I would say Eobard Thawne. He's super evil. Like crazy, crazy evil. And he just wants to ruin Barry's life. Because he can't kill Barry. If he kills Barry, then he's never inspired to become the Reverse Flash.
Circular time travel logic.
But in Flashpoint, you actually get a causal nexus, so that he doesn't need Barry to live anymore to exist.
Oh, wow.
Gesundheit.
That's changed later on.
I guess that adds more suspense to the situation between them if all of a sudden he's not safe from getting killed.
Yeah. Wally's kids and wife are about to get stabbed to death by Professor Zoom's magic wand thingy. I think what it's actually supposed to be is his physical representation of a lightning rod that keeps him tethered, because he doesn't love anyone. Like, he doesn't have a human lightning rod, like a wife or a child or a father figure or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Max Mercury's his Bart. That's how he got out. He, like, imprinted on him.
Yeah.
So Wally is in the Speed Force with Barry and Max. They're exiting by using, the power of friendship or something. Anyway, they get out
power
of the
of
Speed
love.
Force, and as they come out of the Speed Force, Liberty Bell all of a sudden is like sparked with the knowledge of the final number in the equation of the speed formula. So boom, she's got speed all of a sudden.
Isn't she?
All of the speedsters are invigorated for whatever reason when Barry, Max, and Wally come back.
Yeah.
Kid Flash and Jay were fighting Zoom this entire time. They saved the West family. And there was like a couple of cool instances where like they did their like sonic boom punches, and it was a cool fight. All of the fights in this are really cool. Speedster fights are always really cool. So there's a fight going on throughout the Flash parade, and pretty much he was gonna kill the kids.
Yeah.
So for an unknown reason, Liberty Bell is now kind of a fountain of knowledge in regards to the Speed Force. And she goes to the West's... Okay, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. The kids were having some kind of crazy speed seizure. It was the boy. He was having some kind of an issue, and the girl ended up touching him. Irie, her name is.
Yeah.
And Jay and Irie. So
Yeah.
like Jay and Irie. Yeah, she's cute, named after him. They're sharing a Speed Force tether. So Liberty Bell comes and makes it so there's just one. So Jay now has no powers, but Irie is a full-on speedster.
Huh.
So she takes on the name Impulse, because she's a huge Bart fan.
Yeah.
She loves Bart. Like, fangirl of Bart, so she becomes the
That's
new
cute.
Impulse. During Max Mercury and Bart's cool little fight with Zoom, because everybody gets to fight Zoom a little bit, and then everyone's fighting him at once.
Yeah.
Professor Zoom, reveals that he picked up a couple of tips from Wally West's Reverse Flash, just Zoom, Hunter Zolomon, who has a whole different set of powers that are Speed Force related, but they're not. They're more like time related.
Okay.
Hunter Zolomon's kind of hard to explain, but he has this thing where he can just snap his finger and make a sonic boom, and it like creates concussion waves and stuff.
Shit.
Jay Garrick throws his hat a lot, stuff like that.
I think
So
it was
you've
pretty
got,
cool, though.
You've got some
Hat
girl
tricks.
power showing up. Liberty Bell, or Jessie Quick, as she now likes to go by, and Irie West, or Impulse, as she likes to go by, have joined the Speedster team of Bart Allen, Kid Flash, Jay Garrick, Golden Age Flash, and Max Mercury, Wally West, and Barry Allen. All of the Flash family, I guess, the
Flash
Speedsters,
Flash mob.
the
The
Speed
lightning-
Force, if
yeah.
you will.
Well,
They're coming at Thawne.
is she the one we're going to be getting in season 2 of Flash this year?
The season 2 of the CW Flash series, yes, they have casted a Liberty Bell,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. Wally has learned a trick about regenerating his costume so he doesn't have to keep it in his ring like Barry always did,
Yeah.
because he knows a couple of tips about the Speed Force that Barry didn't know.
Oh.
So they all group together and use the Speed Force and their own like connection to it to regenerate their uniforms, but they all get brand spanking new costumes. So Liberty Bell gets a costume very reminiscent of her father's costume. Kid Flash just gets his own costume, but a little bit like sleeker. Max
Yeah.
Mercury just looks a little bit younger, pretty much. Irie West gets a switch from that stupid, like her and her brother had like matching yellow and orange jumpsuits, but
Ugh.
now she has a straight up rip off of Bart Allen's Impulse costume. Jay Garrick even gets a slightly sleeker design.
His hat's
Looks like he polished
cooler.
it a little bit
Yeah.
in his helmet there.
The
Why?
coolest difference would be in Barry's. Like Barry has, it's a little bit less Silver Agey looking.
Yeah.
Like it's still the same design, but there's more. It looks sleeker for some reason, and the difference in it and Wally's is like it's not hard to tell them apart now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed right, especially with the eyes.
Yeah, the
His
masks are
is
set up
flat.
like Barry Allen has a
His-
Captain America mask with the big eye holes, and the nose is like there's
Yeah.
no nose coverage.
Uh-huh.
And then Wally's got more of a Batman one where it's like
Absolutely.
white eye slits, and the nose has the pointed thing, and it's a darker shade of red, and the lightning bolt only has two stabby prong type things.
Yeah.
And the belt's like Wally's got more of a chevron thing, while Barry has just the lightning bolt looking wraparound thing. Anyway, they're all invigorated with the Speed Force, and they have bright, shiny new costumes. So during their fight, Zoom and Barry end up bolting into the Speed Force again. And as they're running, Barry's having these kind of flashbacks as Zoom is revealing to him.
He actually did all these really mean things to him.
Yeah, throughout Barry's childhood,
What the hell?
his dog was run over because somebody left the back door open to
And
his
that was
house.
Zoom?
It
Can you
was-
imagine
it was Zoom.
hating someone this much?
Someone pushed him down the stairs when he was 7 years old. He never saw anything but a blur, and he broke his arm. And these memories are just coming to him because Zoom did this recently. He went back in time and fucking did things to ruin his life this entire time. Because
It's like the
he can't
pettiest
kill it.
revenge plot of all time.
Yeah,
You have a time
he's so
machine, it's
petty
just
and
like-
such a he's so and
He's
like the
obsessed.
ultimate thing that you come to like Barry's been having these memories of his mother being murdered. And as far as we knew, he grew up with both parents being fine. But all of a sudden we're introduced to a timeline where Barry's mother was murdered and his father went to jail for the murder.
And here we have an explanation for all
Professor
these memories.
Zoom murdered Barry Allen's mother.
And then basically framed the father.
Yep.
Did he orchestrate that, or is that just that
He
was just
he
the work of the
orchestrated
police.
it entirely. He was out to ruin lives. So yeah, they start having a fight throughout the Speed Force, and it's pretty clear that the thing to do when you're the arch nemesis is to go after the hero's girl. So we get a kind of perversion of the famous line, as long as I kill Iris, everything will be alright.
Ooh.
So he goes after Iris. He wants to sever the lightning rod so that he can presumably trap Barry in the Speed Force forever.
Right.
But Wally and Barry then team up and use the power of friendship again, because it never fails. Just as Zoom is about to kill Iris in the past, before she ever has dinner with Barry, before their love can ever exist, because Zoom is that much of a piece of shit. Wally and Barry grab him, and they run him back to the
Shadow Zone?
containment chamber
Yeah.
that they
Oh.
originally had Barry in.
I thought that was destroyed. It didn't just they accidentally let him out, or
Yeah, they let him out, or he
Okay.
vibrated through,
Yeah.
or something. But they chucked him in it, and they like severed him of the negative Speed Force. So they drained him of his powers. So then you've got your celebration, your big flash parade. Now Barry's okay with being back. Barry's happy. Everybody can get back to being superheroes. Barry and Wally are like, we look different enough now that like we can be, you know, everything can be okay.
The boy's like, well, guess I don't have any powers. Time to go play with my
Yep.
DS.
Well, I mean, he's always kind of been like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He-
Irie was always kind of the important one out of the two.
he
Um,
made it big
So, I
playing
feel like if I had super strength,
Unreal Tournament.
and then
But he like shifts like he gets tiny legs at the cost of like the cost of gigantic muscular arms is super tiny legs because he's got to move it. It's weird. It's
That's
drawn
insane.
weird. Maybe I'm just like seeing it that way, but it's weird. At Iron Heights or at Bell Rev, I'm pretty sure it's Iron Heights. Yeah, Iron Heights. Ironically, Professor Zoom and Hunter Zolomon Zoom are right across the hallway from
Why
each
would you
other.
do that?
I don't fucking
Why
know.
would you do that?
So you've got the wheelchair-bound
So
Hunter
dumb.
Zolomon who doesn't have access to his powers right now for some reason in one cell, and he's
He broke
just
his
whispering
knees.
his usual like "let's be better together" stuff to. It's such a cool rig, like what it's like what Van Sciver drew for the imprisonment machine that they have for Professor Zoom. Like it
Oh,
even
strung
covers
up
his mouth so
by
he
his
can't
feet,
move his
yeah.
lips. He's it's like a cryogenic It's got tubes that look like liquid coolant that are keeping him frozen like at perfect zero at all times, so that he can't generate any movement at all. Because if he can move at all, then he can generate the negative speed force again.
Okay.
So they keep him locked up like that with, like, he's muzzled, he's upside down, he's frozen, like he's, you know. And it just touches base with these other characters again. You've got Abracadabra, who's making his marionettes and stuff because he's stupid. Who cares? Gorilla Grodd is telling all of the events of these things.
Because he knows.
Yep. Somehow, because Grodd's a genius. In Grodd we trust.
I trust Grodd.
Barry Allen decides to go back to work and take on all of the cold cases since he's been gone, because that's what Barry Allen do. The rogues are ready to go. They're like, Barry Allen's back, so we're gonna do our thing. Matt, I'm sure you're gonna have a question about the rogues once we're through here. When Professor Zoom went to kill Iris West in the past, he was...
Why wouldn't you
like,
just destroy that rod?
Yeah, she picked up the rod as Barry and Wally grabbed Professor Zoom. He dropped it back in that time, and she picked it up and was like, oh. And she kept it because of the night they met. And she's just had it all this time, and it's like rusty and stuff now. So they have their big celebratory party, and Green Arrow eats some cake before it's time, and Black Canary slaps him in the back of the neck. And it's Barry Allen's back, and he's happy to be back. We've got our Flash back. Professor Zoom's been defeated. All of the speedsters are invigorated with powers again, and we've got two Flashes. Initial thoughts.
That's a solid 6 issue. Even though I haven't finished reading all of them, they're like.
It definitely seems to be.
That's good pacing. That's a lot of information in a good amount of time.
It seems to have become a very pivotal story in how a lot of people know the Flash now, because of the,
it's
show
the go-to thing.
And Flashpoint
and it's
Paradox.
Green Lantern Rebirth is also by Jeff Johns and also by Ben Skiver, and he redoes the Green Lantern to make you like Hal Jordan again, just like this makes you remember why you liked Barry Allen to begin with.
Yeah.
And it brings back these classic Justice Leaguers. Green Lantern Rebirth is awesome, and it leads into the Sinestro Corps War, which leads into all the War of Light stuff with the Red Lanterns, which leads into Blackest Night, which is one of the coolest DC stories, like crossovers, ever. It's pretty much a Crisis, a little bit of Criteria missing, but this is one of my favorite DC stories because I'm a huge Flash fan, and like I always loved Wally West, and this came out and I was like, okay, nope, he can retire. Like I want Barry back. Barry is what a beautiful human being. He's just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And he goes on from this to do some pretty cool stuff. His Blackest Night stuff is but his Brightest Day stuff is pretty interesting. Professor Zoom obviously does get free again at some point.
Yeah,
And,
as a villain does.
He gets free at some point during Brightest Day, I believe. And then he goes and does all of the stuff that he does in Flashpoint, which makes him the causal nexus so that he can kill Barry. I think it was because he was inside of the Speed Force while history was being changed, so he got to be outside of it.
Okay.
And thusly, Barry Allen didn't exist in this universe, but he could exist there because he wasn't there to be erased in the previous timeline. It's convoluted.
It is.
Jeff Johns is really good at explaining it.
Wibbly-wobbly.
Probably a lot better than I am. He can be more... His language makes more sense to the untrained ear of comics than, let's say, Grant Morrison or Alan Moore. But it's still just as much like information that you gotta get into yet. Barry Allen's awesome. Speedsters in general are awesome. Professor Zoom's probably one of the coolest supervillains in DC. It's definitely one of the most like the hate.
Yeah, it's
like
pretty
it's
scary.
important to feel the hate when you got the villains.
Oh, you can
Like
definitely feel
Batman
it.
and Joker have their dynamic. Superman and Luthor have their dynamic.
But you don't get like the Joker traveling through time and pushing him down a staircase.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess you could argue he would do something
Yeah.
like that if he had the power, but
Pissing your cotton
Joker
candy.
actually one time got the temporarily got the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk, the fourth dimensional imp.
oh
Yeah.
goodness.
Like he's a Superman bad guy,
I wonder we're all still around.
and he can he can like alter all reality. He can do anything. He can change reality like just by snapping his fingers
So
in
what's
like
the-
a
what was the
very
first thing he
cartoonish
did?
fashion. The Earth had a big Joker face painted on it.
Classic.
But one thing that he, like, just all day, every day, he just killed Batman. And brought him back to life and killed him. And brought him back to life and killed him.
I guess when you can. I guess because he never really wanted to kill him because.
Oh, he's part of him.
Yeah,
he's all he's
exactly.
got. He's
But
like, you're the
now-
only thing that makes this world interesting.
Now that he
I
can bring
can't
him
kill
back,
you.
it's like he can get away with doing it
Yeah.
as much as he wants to.
Yep, you can just keep bringing
Just
him
for the
back.
thrill of it.
All of a sudden, your bat grappling hook is a rubber chicken and you fall to your death.
Yep.
And you
forgot
just see
your-
the Joker on your
you
way
forgot
down.
your bat pants and everyone laughs at you.
Yeah. And then you explode.
I don't even remember how they get him out of that situation. At all. Like I don't remember how they take Joker's godlike powers away. But it's like the whole story is called Emperor Joker.
That sounds like a fun read.
Yeah, it's alright. I guess. I would take the Hulk out of the Avengers. Put the Thing in.
The Hulk versus the Thing.
Oh, the Hulk.
Yeah.
Easily.
Okay. But as
I mean,
characters,
it'll be a couple
the Thing,
panels just to
yeah.
make it look good or whatever, but it's like, that's not a contest.
Why the Thing over the Hulk?
No. Why, as an Avenger?
Yeah.
He's a team player. He's funny. He's got heart.
He's more dynamic than the Hulk
Yeah, he's got,
in a
like-
team. Yeah.
He gives you the feels, but he also like
The Hulk definitely has a
makes with the
doomsday
yucks.
syndrome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like real.
He's
And I'm using the word
typecasted.
realistic again, but it's not realistic to think of this like crazy, totally berserk rage monster that could like just kill any of you.
Yeah, he's
By
just
accident.
a tool.
And they like.
Yeah, he
Like in
brings
the
nothing
movie,
to the table.
I don't know if you saw the second
Really?
Avengers movie, the stuff with Widow. She's all
Yeah.
like, "Hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low." Like, fuck
Yeah.
off. That's not. He would pull your arm off when you reach your hand out like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like this. Him, like, he knows what side he's on and everything. Like, no. He should be, like, he could kill Betty. If, well, maybe not Betty. Because I suppose he has to have that one, like,
I guess everyone does.
I
Well,
mean, it's
not
like
everyone,
King
but
Kong
yeah.
and that actress.
The lady.
Any questions in regards to the Flash mythos, to the villains involved, to the heroes involved? Just
Yeah, regarding the rogues, like I guess they didn't play a huge part in this, and I know them a little bit from what I've seen in the Flashpoint Paradox. Just that they were kind of a crew of Central City's misdoers.
yeah, the Rogues are they're a supervillain team, but they're not like your cookie cutter like evil, like want to rule the world, want to. They just
They're
want
out
to
for
make
an
money.
extra buck.
They just want the coin, and they're guys.
Yeah.
They're literally just. They're dudes. They sit around in a bar. They drink. They talk about like my ulcer's acting up. Like they.
So then they probably do not associate with Zoom.
No, not
Zoom,
really.
I guess you wouldn't call
No.
it.
No.
Nope, he's pretty fucking evil, and they're
Yeah.
not. They've actually got rules like, don't unnecessarily kill.
It's a good-
We don't want the attention.
Yeah.
We just want to fucking rob banks with our cool guns and weapons and stuff. And
I mean, everyone could say that. You know, everybody wants to rob a bank with some cool guns. So I can sympathize with that for sure.
they're led by Captain Cold. He's kind of like the one that makes up the rules.
He's got those 3D.
Never kill women and kids.
Good.
Like no women, no children. No drugs. Rogues don't do drugs.
Straight edge.
If a rogue gets sent to prison, you fucking spring him out of jail. You always have each other's back. Everything is split down the middle, equal shares.
These guys are thick as thieves.
Yep, they're buddies. They're just
Yeah.
drinking buddies. That Captain Cold has, like most people call it a freezing gun. It's not. It's a cold gun. He's the man that mastered absolute zero.
Right.
He can stop molecules from movement, like
Right.
just movement in the. He can create cold fields so the molecules around him don't move at the same speed. So the Flash, he can like counteract
Slow
the
it
Flash.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, what a perfect counter.
Yep. So his nose is always like running.
Yeah.
He's in a parka because it's like actually generated. It's a weaponized cold engine. He stole the schematics for it and built it, and took it apart and built it and took it apart until he could do it with his eyes closed.
Wow.
So now he can walk into a Radio Shack and build a cold gun.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
His buddy, who always seems to be with him, Heatwave, pyromaniac. He's got burns on some of his body because he's a pyromaniac. He wears a flame retardant suit and has a handheld flamethrower.
Got
It's a pretty high-powered flamethrower, and he's
Mr.
just a
Ice.
flame-themed villain.
And
who's-
Mr. Fire.
Yep, Mick Rory. Marsden, the Weather Wizard. He's got a wand, and it controls the weather on like a localized scale. So kind of like Storm, but nowhere near as powerful.
He's the guy who makes those little storms that just hang over your head and
Yeah,
as you're walking down
yeah,
the street.
kind of thing. Or you
Okay.
could make a lightning storm inside of like a fucking room and like kill everyone.
Dang.
So he's relatively powerful. The Trickster, who is what you'd think. Like he dresses goofy and has like yo-yos that explode and like moon shoes that can run on the air. So he just like runs across the sky with little like explosions under his feet as he goes and like weird gadgets, and he's just all about the next bit. He's the worst Joker ripoff, but not a
Yeah.
clown and not like super evil, like sinister and
He's more
capable.
like
Like he doesn't
like
kill
Shaw.
anyone. He just
No.
like, ooh, I'm gonna dog vomit. Like Mark Hamill voices him in the cartoon and actually played him in the Flash series. Actually, I think at this point the current Rogue, the current
Mark Hamill is still.
it's Axel something, like it's the new Trickster.
Oh.
In Flash Rebirth. Anyway.
But they both exist. Oh.
Mirror
I'm sure
Master.
they both exist.
Mirror Master has access to the mirror dimension because of science. Some kind of science. Mirror science. But there's a mirror dimension so he can actually travel through mirrors, and he uses like light and mirror based powers and lasers and stuff to kind of perform his capers.
Right.
Captain Boomerang, who actually died, but he was something. He
Used
was
a boomerang.
Australian and he used boomerangs.
Classic.
Some of them exploded, some of them were razor sharp. Yeah,
I
the
guess
rogues
the
are
boomerang one. Both of those, you wouldn't really want them to come back to you.
no,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, you want to try to make sure that you hit it. And I think
Could've
at one
called him,
point, like in the
Captain
Silver Age, he had a
Frisbee.
fucking jet that was a boomerang shape. And I don't know if it
How
flew
can
like
you
a.
afford that?
He has the.
It's one of those old stealth bombers. That's
Yeah.
like a fee, you know?
But yeah, how would he afford that? So yeah, the rogues are really. They grow on you. At first, they seem kind of like just shitty, incompetent, like goofy villains. And you're like,
Yeah,
Mr. Freeze is way cooler than Captain Cold. And I mean, in some cases he is, because Mr. Freeze is awesome. But, like, Captain Cold is awesome. Captain Cold is awesome too. I've got much love for the rogues. There's some, like, side rogues that are like, eh. Like, Abracadabra is sometimes a rogue, I think. Pied Piper. And I think later on there might have been, like, we're trying out someone. Like, Captain Cold's sister was one of the first rogues, the Golden Glider. But yeah, the prominent, like, pools of Flash villains, you'd have Professor, like, your Reverse Flash, your Gorilla Grodd, and your rogues. And 9 times out of 10, your Flash story is centered around one of those guys doing something.
And so usually the rogues you find working together against the Flash.
Almost always. I don't think I've ever seen a story where the rogues aren't together.
Okay.
Like Captain Boomerang, maybe, during Brightest Day, because he
Yeah.
comes back from the dead.
And now he's dead, so that's why they don't do that.
But he came back after Blackest
Oh, I see,
Night.
okay.
Brightest Day happened, and a lot of characters who were dead got resurrected. One of them being Eobard Thawne.
It's not something you want to come back.
Nope. So Captain Boomerang, Maxwell Lord, who Wonder Woman broke his neck.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a terrible guy.
yeah. Like a lot of bad people and a lot of, like, Hawk from Hawk and Dove, like, who cares? Firestorm, Martian Manhunter, like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
They came back.
Those two.
Some others, I don't remember. We probably won't do Brightest Day, but we will eventually get into Blackest Night.
Oh, good. No, that sounds great.
Yeah. Blackest Night. I can't wait for Blackest Night.
Yep. Hunter Zolomon, like Wally West's Reverse Flash, his powers are more like he moves time around him as opposed to running fast.
Yeah.
Like, it's not speed so much as time. Like, when Eobard Thawne Professor Zoom runs, it looks like Flash.
Yeah.
But when, like, with speed trails and, like he'll vibrate and, like, there'll be after images and stuff. But Hunter Zolomon moves like he's constantly static and just jumping around like a paranormal.
Oh, so he's
modern day paranormal themed
like
horror
he's
movie,
warp jumping
like how
all the time.
like in a really like chaotic fashion.
It's pretty cool.
It's described in this book that with the
He's
creation
folding
of the
space
negative
and
speed
time.
force, that there's a crackle and static in Professor Zoom's voice, and like his after images will like sneer and smile and like grin and jeer and shit, and then he'll like inhale them as red smoke. Like the visuals and the descriptions of the visuals in this are awesome. The lightning, like the coloring and everything.
Yeah.
I actually don't know who
It's a
did.
very dynamic comic.
I'm just gonna flip through right quick to see who did the coloring, because it's Brian Miller of Hi-Fi did the coloring, and it's like the lightning work, like the look of the Speed Force itself, the negative Speed Force, and he's obviously responsible for Professor Zoom's like origin in the beginning, the black skeleton with all the red lightning and stuff. Visually, it's a super impressive book, and story-wise, it's an even more impressive book. And it just gets better. Like, Jeff Johns took the helm during this and Green Lantern Rebirth, not sure which one came first. But they just ran with it, and it was awesome. Jeff Johns also wrote Infinite Crisis, which is my favorite DC story of all time,
Wow.
which we will eventually do.
Good.
Definitely.
Um,
I'd like to reread that.
Jeez, what's the first thing you would do if you like had access to the Speed Force?
Rob a bank.
Just like run to the side wall of a bank and like vibrate through the wall into the vault.
I think I'd go right in and go, like,
Just straight through into the door through.
yep, just... I wouldn't go for the safe. You gotta go for the stuff that's, like, there in the registers. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm sure they hold a lot more.
I would do that eventually,
Yeah.
probably. But I think the first thing I would do is just like see how far and how fast they
Yeah.
can go. I like go around the world and like.
I'd
check out a
like to
bunch of
see how
places,
long,
and
like,
then,
yeah.
like go run down the Great Wall of China.
If you had prior knowledge of like speedster science and like the speed force and stuff, and you know if you went too fast, you could potentially be trapped in the speed force.
Okay, well maybe I wouldn't push the limits too much, but still it'd be exciting. You know, you'd want to use your powers, see what they can do.
What color scheme would you go with?
Apart from red and yellow.
I mean, you can go with red and yellow if you want.
Oh man.
It's appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, I see definitely a lot of yellow in the electricity.
Yeah, I would
So
want to
definitely
have a
like
little
it.
bit of yellow in my costume. Because I mean, if you're a speedster, you want a costume. Like some powers are like, okay, I could wear street clothes and still make this look cool.
Yeah.
But if you're a super speedster,
Or like a full body tracksuit, like a Russian mobster.
yep, black with gold Adidas
Yellow.
stripes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some really cheap sneakers.
James Gandolfini, just speed force in it. As long as I remember donuts, everything will be all right. All right, so wrapping up, that's Flash Rebirth by Jeff Johns, with art by Van Sciver. Love this book.
Yeah,
You
definitely
should-
gonna finish reading this.
You should definitely all read it. So, if you tell us what you think about Flash Rebirth or the Flash in general, or anything in general, in the comments, like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Trev.
I'm Mark.
I'm Matt.
See you next time. I'm Batman.